We're here for our weekly board session. It's Wednesday, March 27th, and we're here in the Senator Hearing Room at 555 Court Street Northeast. And as always, we start our board sessions with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you will join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just love saying that every Wednesday morning. We have a good group here today. And
how can you tell that we haven't even started? They might be all mad.
They all look happy to me.
Okay.
Everybody here looks happy. And if not, before they leave, they'll be happy.
Fine.
Right? Okay. You might not,
I know that.
but we will be.
You aim to please.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So we don't have any, we have nobody signed up for public comment this morning, so we'll go right into our consent calendar. And it's a real easy one, so it must be your turn.
Thank you. Chair Cameron, I make a motion to approve our consent calendar this morning. 2 items on it. Under Business Services, approve an order appointing Teresa Herman as a voting management representative to the Health Insurance Study Committee. And in Finance, approve an easement and equitable servitudes agreement with Department of Environmental Quality for real property located at 280 Pine Street Northeast in Salem.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent calendar, approving the consent calendar, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, our first action item today is a proclamation under Business Services. Consider approval of proclamation designating the week of April 7th through 13th, 2019 as National Volunteer Appreciation Week in Marion County. Lisa, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Lisa Miller, Volunteer Services Coordinator with Business Services. I am here this morning to bring forward a proclamation for consideration for proclaiming Volunteer Appreciation Week in Marion County, April 7th through 13th, 2019. In my role as Volunteer Services Coordinator, I not only get to support and encourage volunteerism in our departments, but I also get the opportunity to hear about the great outcomes from these volunteer placements. That includes the 2,000 victims of crime that receive support from our victim assistance advocates, the 759 families that were reunited with their lost dogs at our dog shelter, the 160 volunteers who assisted with our response efforts during the water advisory in Salem last May. These are just some of the things that our volunteers have done over the year. So I'll be back in a couple of weeks to give you a lot more numbers and a lot more stories. But this morning it's all about recognizing the volunteers during Volunteer Week. In 2018, we had over 1,700 active volunteers. The volunteers are out there every day helping us without any expectation of payment, any expectation of recognition. They're just there to help the county with our mission out of the kindness of their own hearts. As difficult as it is to put a dollar value on their time, our national standards estimate that it would be worth over $3 million. So this morning, the proclamation I bring to you today is to consider supporting these dedicated volunteers and declaring the week of April 7th through 13th as Volunteer Week in Marion County. This is a proclamation that the county has done over many years. It started back in 1974 by an executive order with President Richard Nixon, and every president since has signed a similar proclamation. National Volunteer Week is all about inspiring, recognizing, and encouraging people to engage in their communities, working together to meet our challenges and accomplish our goals. So with that, I've provided a copy of the proclamation for you for your consideration.
We have that proclamation in front of us, and I just want to make a couple of comments. It's amazing since I've been here how many people I've met that I didn't even know were doing something for the county in a volunteer way, whether it was people that were fostering dogs from our dog shelter, and of course most people that I've run into that have fostered the dog, they end up like falling in love with it and adopting it. So
That's why I can't foster a dog.
That's why you cannot foster a dog. Yeah. There's reasons why I can't foster a dog, but we won't go into those.
That's abuse.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's really good to see this proclamation come before us today. Any comments? If not, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a proclamation designating the week of April 7th through 13th, 2019 as National Volunteer Appreciation Week in Marion County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. We'll read the proclamation, and Commissioner, you want to start it out?
Before the Board of Commissioners for Marion County, Oregon, in the matter proclaiming April 7th through 13th, 2019 to be Volunteer Week in Marion County, the proclamation. This matter came before the Marion County Board of Commissioners at its regularly scheduled public meeting on March 27th, 2019. Whereas the entire community can inspire, equip, and mobilize people to take actions that change the county, and whereas during this week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service, and
whereas volunteers in Marion County have undertaken responsibilities that promote the general welfare of the county, and whereas in providing these services, volunteers have demonstrated a spirit of personal concern and wholehearted willingness to help others, and whereas individuals and communities are at the center of social change, discovering their power to make a difference, and
whereas experience teaches us that government by itself cannot solve all our social problems, and whereas our county's volunteer force of citizens is a great treasure, and whereas these volunteers ask nothing more than the satisfaction of a job well done, and whereas these individuals are most deserving of appreciation and thanks, now therefore we, the Marion County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 7th through the 13th, 2019 as Volunteer Week in Marion County, and urge our fellow citizens to volunteer in their respective communities. Signed this 27th day of March, 2019.
I'm signing it right now.
Yeah, and we will sign. I think we have a couple copies. You know, and I was just thinking as we were reading that, one of the other volunteer things and there's tons of them that we do, I understand that, but that really makes a difference in other people's lives is our people who go up and rescue people.
Oh, search and rescue.
Search and rescue team, and the equipment, and I've, since I live in Detroit, and I know there's been several of those. When I go up there, there's people up there cooking, there's people up there with their Jeeps and all kinds of things that they not only volunteer their time, but their resources to make that happen too, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of training that's involved in their
Right.
efforts as well. I'll share quite a few pictures of that when I come back.
Well, and thank you to everyone here who volunteers for Marion County or has volunteered for Marion County. Appreciate your service as well.
Lisa, thank you. Thank you for what you do to help support all the volunteers too. Okay. The next item is under business services, and it's to accept a final closeout report for the Juvenile Court Addition and Transition Center roof replacement project. And Kevin and Larry are here. We've been seeing you a little bit lately with all these projects that we've got going on. Yeah. And I shared my hairdo with you from 1977 the other day because I want to be like you again. Good to see you both.
So, for the record, Kevin Burton, Construction Project Coordinator.
Larry Tilford, Facilities Program Manager.
So we're here to seek approval for the closeout of a couple of projects we did last year, the court expansion project and the transition center roof. I'm going to start the presentation with the juvenile court expansion. You should have a closeout report with you as part of this package. See if I get this to work. So the court project, we added a second courtroom to our juvenile detention facility. It had one existing courtroom. This project originally was in conjunction with the rehabilitation of the juvenile administration building. So it went out as a design for both projects, and we had originally hired under a CMGC alternate contract PNC Construction to perform on both of those. Local architectural firm, Carlson Veit, did the main design on this. Through the process, we decided a CMGC was not the best way to go with the decision to build a new juvenile services building rather than to rehab the existing administration building. So we separated those, put the court out as an invitation to bid, a little bit of redesign. Scope creep had come in. That was kind of before I was hired for the county, so I don't know what all led to the scope creep. I don't know if you want to talk to that a little bit.
Additional low voltage work, some cameras, additional card readers, that sort of thing. I think.
Can you pull that closer to you? Larry, can you pull that microphone?
It was
Yeah.
mostly, I think, the size of the footprint that ran us over budget. And at the time, construction costs were going through the roof. They were based on all the construction that was taking place in Portland, and so cost per square foot for construction was extremely high at that point.
So my actual first day of work was the construction meeting that we held that said we're scrapping our existing design and we have to reduce scope and come into this new design concept. Carlson Veit did an admirable job of turning that around very quickly, so we were still able to meet a warm weather construction cycle. We did bring the project in on time and under budget. So walk you through the slideshow real quick. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but please stop me anytime that you have a question. So we have a before and after.
Kevin, maybe the one question that maybe before you get going, you mentioned CMGC as acronyms. Can you just, for people that are listening and watching, can you explain what that is?
Sure.
Or is not?
Yeah, it's a construction management general contractor contract. It's an alternate contracting method where we actually partner with a contractor to help work through the design process to see if we can find ways to buildability, make sure it's buildable the way that it's designed, and to see if there's some cost reduction efforts that the contractor can see to say, this is going to cost you a lot to build it the way the architect designed it. We can reduce this cost by doing it this direction. Can we design it that route? Works pretty well. We did our public safety building under a CMGC contract, and it worked out very well in that process. We'll be doing a closeout on that in the future.
And the difference between that and a PNC?
PNC is the construction company that actually was awarded the contract.
Okay.
That's PNC Construction. I'm not sure what their acronym stands for. That's their legal name.
But it looks like their contract was terminated.
Yeah, we terminated the CMGC contract, and we went to an invitation to bid. We actually separated the two projects. So, as I stated, the court and the juvenile administration building were all part of a single design, single project, and we separated those, made the court a standalone, and made the juvenile administration building a standalone. So the court went out as an invitation to bid, ITB, and
So can you talk a little bit about the difference between a CMGC contract and an invitation to bid process?
yeah, CMGC, they get brought in earlier in the design process, and they go through a interview process to find the right contractor to work with, that'll work with the county in that process. Invitation to bid is we have a fully complete design, and then we put it out for bid. That is bid, and we generally accept responsible, low bid from that. So the county doesn't have a whole lot of say in who the contractor is. It's all based on price. In the CMGC, you have a little bit more leeway or way of looking at contractors and different choices you can make. Evaluation factors is what I was looking for. on how to evaluate a contractor as to what would be the best fit. But it's a lot lengthier process.
Thank you.
One more follow-up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you just talk about the decision to terminate the CMGC contract? How did you come to that conclusion? And
Our CMGC contractor was coming in at over 2 times what our budget was with their estimates on constructability. Some of that was based on the old design concept. So at that point, like I say, I just came in right at that point. So I'm not sure what all led to the decision, but it seemed like the best process to not move forward with that because we were separating the administration building. So we just had a very small project at that point, and we had to go into a complete redesign. We didn't want to continue to pay a CMGC to oversee a project that we were redesigning anyway. Does that answer your question?
that does. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this was our 3D rendering concept, and this is our floor plan. During the redesign, we just wanted to mirror the existing courtroom. So if you look at grid line 1, and for those of you that don't know drawings, grid line 1 would be the circle with the 1 in it right in the middle, and it splits the building in half. The grid lines are how we orientate ourselves with the building. It sections out the building. You have numbers and letters in it. It helps define where the places in the building are. So from grid line 1 to the right is all new construction. To the left would be existing building. The hatched area on the left side of grid line 1, they got some new finishes in that area as well, tenant improvements. That's a staff area. So you can see the staff area is all clustered in the middle. The courts are on the outside. This was our ground and our stakes where our survey was done. The construction trailer and fence and everything showing up. The start of the removal of the brush, protecting the windows. Excavation, putting in the storm drains. A little bit more excavation, piles of dirt, always exciting. This is where they're digging out for the concrete slab. You have to get down to undisturbed soil. The lot actually had quite a bit of fill in it, and it had some water issues, so we took out a little extra dirt than what was originally planned. We were able to do that at no additional cost. Here they're placing the gravel for the slab. We have quite a bit of gravel in place, and it's all compacted to 95% compaction, and that'll keep the slab from moving. Here's our fully compacted slab, or concrete. Here we're core drilling into the existing building to tie in the septic systems, sanitary sewer. We had to dig out or cut holes in the concrete in the existing building to access it. Here's somebody really getting into their work. So here's our completed tie-in. And then we are starting to pour the spread footings for the building. The vapor barrier is the yellow plastic there. It's preventing any moisture from coming up into the new building. The rebar is going to keep the slab stable. You can see it's all taped around all the plumbing pipes so that we're not getting any moisture into the building. There's our brand new shiny slab. It's water, keeping water on it to keep it from curing too fast. Here's the existing building as they've stripped some of the brick facade off. Wanted to put this slide in there so you pay particular attention to the window on the far left there, the decorative window. You'll see that through this progression. The other 2 windows to the right, the far right one gets boxed back in. The doorway in the middle of those 2 windows actually becomes the area between the 2 new staff areas, and the window in the middle retains, it stays so that staff can actually see each other. So here we are raising steel, putting on the bar trusses, where we're tying into the existing structure of the building so that they're actually become one seismically. Here's the steel stud, or the framing of the exterior is starting. The progression is kind of, I'm showing you all the exterior pictures and we'll move into interior. So here's the roof assembly starting to go into place. They call this pan deck. And the exterior insulation, shear board. Another vapor barrier keeping all the moisture out from the elements. And the CMU starting to go on. CMU, concrete masonry units. So that's the block that's going up. Continued block. This pattern actually matches the existing building, so we can make the transition into the new structure. In order to save costs, we didn't do the whole thing in concrete masonry units. We used a metal siding, and so here's where the metal siding is starting to go up. It coordinated fairly well with all the colors and kept our costs quite a bit lower. So that's how they all tie together, and here's how they finish that. Here's our completed roof before they've started insulating or putting any roofing material on. And so we've got 3 layers of 2-inch insulation on top of our roof, giving us a really good R value up there. R value, radiant heat transfer. And then here's our sealed membrane roof. That makes a continuous sheet of roofing. You can see the taper in that roof there going to the drains in the corners. The curb in the middle is for our mechanical equipment, and the white strip is a walking path so we don't damage our roof. More exterior construction, they're putting the cap flashing on to tie the roof and siding together, keep that all sealed. And this is looking from our current administration building at the construction project. Now we're going into the inside. This is the steel stud framing. These will be the 2 bathrooms, one for the judges' chambers and one for the staff. And this is in the staff area looking back towards the court, a couple of private offices. And this is the court looking at where the future judges' bench will be. So there's a big window above that judges' bench and lower ceiling there. This is sound attenuation board inside, so it helps keep sound transfer, keeps all the court quiet so they can record well. It's working out nice when we have a construction project out front. We haven't had any complaints with recording the court sessions, which is good. This is the way they address the exterior of where they're tying the 2 buildings together. So here's the CMU wall of the existing building, and the window I told you would get closed off. You can see how it's framed over in this picture. And then drywall going up. Drywall finishing. This is the court, once again looking towards the judge's bench. And this will be the public area for the court. This was one of our change orders. The transformer in the upper right-hand corner was originally scheduled to be in the detention facility back by the electrical. It created if there was ever a problem there, they would have to go through a conference area where the kids or lawyers are meeting, or the kids and the parents are meeting. So if we had an emergency, we would have to not go through there due to privacy issues. So we decided to move that into that staff area where we could access it at any given point in the case of an emergency. There's that middle window that's remained so that the staff areas tie themselves together and can be seen. There's the old doorway that's going to become the passageway. Here's the tenant improvements going into the judges' chambers, new carpet. Here's our new vinyl in the staff bathroom. The new break room. Judges' bench, witness stand and court recorder. The judges' bench does have bulletproof resistant panel in there, and that's the white fiber mesh inside the walls. So you have the finished courtroom, finished staff area, finished bathroom, the hallway. Note the window that remained. This is looking back towards the existing lobby. And this is the staff exit door. And there's our finished project. So we had only 21 change orders on the project. They amounted to about $83,000. We're about 7.5% of what our construction costs were. We had two change orders in particular that were, as Larry mentioned, the low voltage and for door controls. And if you remove those two change orders, we were only at 1.4%. You'll see all of the change orders on your evaluation form. Any further questions?
Kevin, how many square feet was the addition?
It's about 3,100.
Super. Thank you.
Sam? Good. Hey, I just want to say thank you for the work that you've been doing, not only this building, but the public safety building that was finished on time, under budget, and now the juvenile building that's working, and we know that our infrastructure is important to us, and then the health department that was done earlier, and then their new building that they're moving people into gradually. It's just great to have people who are watching over that and know that it's being done in a proper way. We really appreciate it. And the citizens of Marion County will appreciate it for a long time to come. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. I'm going to let Larry talk about this at the start.
My role is kind of to give you a history on the transition center, what was called at the time the Work Release Center, and the roof replacement.
This is out at the jail,
Correct.
right? We're moving from the juvenile out to the jail.
Correct, sir. This project is the replacement of the roof at that particular site in the building, and I can tell you that in 2008, that building was, a project was established to put a standing seam metal roof on that building. And that was part of an energy improvement project that was county-wide, that was managed by McKinstry. And when I came in 2011, we were beginning to have sort of regular leaks of that roof structure. And our staff performed a number of repairs. We also brought in no less than 3 local roofing companies to make repairs as necessary. And over time, it became clear to us that we were not only dealing with exterior leaks, but we were having something going on in the building that was condensation driven. And that we developed a theory that we were getting condensation building up on the interior side of the metal roof. And then that was accentuating the problem downstairs. And so we brought in 2 forensic roofing companies, Facade and Keith Schauber, to do a study of the roof and kind of give us their theories on why we were facing these issues. And what they discovered in taking the roof apart to evaluate what was going on is that there was no vapor barrier there. So as the warm air rose to the roof level, it condensated and dripped through the sheriff's office and the lieutenant's offices there. And that was contributing to all of the structural damage that we were seeing. That was in 2015. And in 2016, we submitted a CIP for the replacement of the roof, and that was approved. We amended it in 2018 because we came to the decision that a metal roof was probably not the best way to go. It also was more expensive. And Kevin was driving the project to place a PVC roof instead of the metal roof. And you want to talk about that aspect of it?
So we looked at the building as a total when we went into design. We knew we had a problem with the HVAC system, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. It wasn't creating air exchanges within the building, so all of the moisture and heat and stuff put off by people and PCs and those kind of items stayed within the building and didn't escape. So we were having condensation issues as well as leaks into the roof. So you had a lot of moisture that wasn't being evacuated. So we wanted to look at it twofold. Number one, how are we going to address it through the HVAC system, which is a separate project we'll be closing out here in the near future. So we did it in conjunction. We chose a single design firm to take on the role of designing the building and both aspects. So Summit Engineering out of the Portland area was our project lead on this, but AC & Co. was the lead architect under Summit Engineering. So they did the bulk of the design for the roof project itself. So in going through it, by the time we got it designed and bid, the weather was changing, and we certainly don't want to rip off a whole roof with water problems and have it be leaking into the building during our wet season. So we did find a window of opportunity in December where we did a low slope roof. In this picture, if you look at the second drawing down, you can kind of see that flat area in the middle. And right here. That is our flat roof. It's a smaller area that was already scheduled for a PVC roof, and they found time in December to be able to do that section of the roof. And then we did a stop work, waited till the weather was better to move on to the rest. During that process, we did a redesign. We went from metal prices had skyrocketed. We looked at the PVC roof. I didn't really care for a solid sheet of PVC on that sloped roof because it architecturally or visually is not appealing. So we talked about, they have PVC ribs that they could put on it, and the contractor was willing to give us the rib install over $50,000 of additional work and material to be able to go forward with a PVC roof. So that was nice. Very little change orders on the job. Most of them were because of the structural integrity of the building. When the building was built, we'll see some pictures as we go through, and I'll talk about that more. But we only had 10 total change orders on the job. But we were able to fix a lot of different problems. So if we don't have any questions, I'm just going to start moving through the slideshow. This was our before and our after. As you can tell, we have a metal roof on the left, and it's hard to tell that the picture on the right is anything but the same kind of roof. But that is actually a PVC roof that's all fully welded, meaning there's no area anywhere that hasn't been welded together, so there's no way water can penetrate through any of that.
I'll hold you to that.
Unless, of course, there's a hole in it. So here's the low slope roof that we did in December. This is them staging and getting ready to do the roof. What's there existing, you can see, is a built-up bitumen type roof. It's your hot mop tar and cap sheet. That was all removed. You can tell by the previous photo that it was a little cold in December. We had frost, so we had to wait for the frost to go away before we could start doing much work. So here they've stripped off the roofing and insulation is left. Here they're down to deck and they're starting to put the vapor barrier on, or vapor barrier insulation. Here you can see they mechanically fasten the first layer of insulation, but then they're gluing the second layer of insulation. That way we don't have a continuous path of a nail going all the way through all of our sheets and creating a spot where water can find its way all the way through. And here's the full roof assembly. You can see the insulation, you can see the cover board, and then you can see the PVC roof. Once again, the assembly, we've got a vapor barrier, 2 layers of insulation, a cover board, and in the very, very corner, upper left corner, you can kind of see the flap of where the PVC roof is sitting on top of the cover board. So you can see the cover board and the top layer of insulation are all glued, so we don't have any of those mechanical fasteners coming through and creating a pathway for water. Here they're gluing down the roof. It's all fully adhered, so instead of stapling around the edges or nailing around the edges of a PVC roof, which is one method, I think it's always better to do a fully adhered, that way no water or air can get under it. As you're probably well aware, we had air underneath the roof of this building, which ended up creating some issues, and went back with a fully adhered roof.
Mr. Chair, one of the problems out there is a high wind on all those buildings out on Holmesville Highway.
So here's the finished flat roof. For the most part, this was all metal siding that we tore off. We're creating, we're going to put PVC roof all the way up and over the top of that parapet wall. That'll create essentially a big bathtub there, a fully sealed membrane, so we don't have any transition areas from a metal to flashing to a PVC roof. That'll help in our warranty periods. This was one area where we had some water intrusion. You can see the wet plywood all along here. This was all due to condensation, this metal sweat, because it didn't have insulation on it. No way to insulate. It hit this plywood. It would run underneath all of our insulation, our vapor barrier, and get inside the building. You can see the water pooling on top of the vapor barrier there. It's right along here. Another picture of waters. Can't see it too well in this picture, but there's actually pools of water inside this flashing trough here. Here's the completed roof. You can see it's flashed all the way up the walls over the top. It's flashed over all of our mechanical pieces, all fully welded. Goes all the way up over the top of that parapet wall. They got a temporary cap on it until we replace the other roof. And now we're getting into removing the metal roof. So this happened, I think we started in late June. This machine they have to use, it cuts the top, the metal roofing actually takes and bends the metal over. And so they run a different machine and it bends the metal over so that it creates a tight seal. Well, you can't undo that, so this is a special tool that actually cuts that bend off the top so they can remove the metal roofing. They had to do that to every one of the existing seams. Here's where you remove the cap flashing at the ridges. You can see there's not anything tying the two roofs together, and water could blow up. You can see where the metal was bent up a little bit to try to keep water or bugs out of there, but water under a high wind, and as John stated, that is a very windy area. Water can blow underneath of that cap flashing and get in there, and we saw signs of that, as obvious by this picture. So that's rot created by wet wood.
Kevin, how many more slides do you have?
Just, I can go pretty quick if you need me to.
Yeah, that'd be great, thanks.
Sure. So you can see the buildup. We put all new plywood down. It created structural strength. Here's our vapor barrier layers. The yellow paint is marking our above grade electrical, as you can see in this picture. Here's where our framing problem was. We got a big valley that's there in the middle, right along here. And that's the way they fixed it before, was they just put shims in there to try to shim the metal roof up. It didn't create the proper stance. They didn't fill in where they removed some old skylights with plywood. This was the way we found it.
Looks like cedar.
You can see the valley pretty well in this photo right here, right across the middle of the photo, left to right. That's how big of a gap we had. It's about 2 1/4, 2 5/8 inches in areas. So this beam was the problem, and the rafters go on either side. We jacked up those rafters on the uphill side, and it took care of the problem, got rid of our valley. Here was another problem. They just filled the soffit with foam. So we actually ran our plywood all the way out and created a good solid surface. Our cover sheets going on, our fully welded roof. You can see that's the same picture of the valley area, and that valley is gone, and we have a nice flat roof. Gutters, that's the PVC ribbing, and that's what it's like welded on. And there's our final roof.
Guaranteed not to leak. That's what I heard.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, John?
if I might make a comment. When you're doing this kind of building, particularly when you're having to restructure a building, you need your own project manager. And that's something we found out very clearly when we had to redo this building. But, and legal counsel would probably get very upset if I made a comment about how bad McKinstry is, so I won't do that. But they built a very bad building.
You won't make any comments about them?
No.
Okay.
They built a very bad building. I mean, I can't imagine how anybody could make the number of mistakes they made in putting that building together. And I won't ask Kevin to say, but they made a lot of them.
Do we have any more presentation?
We do not.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions you might have about projects.
I think we're
Yes.
pretty clear.
I
No,
would like
try-
to make one real quick statement. We did have lessons learned on this, and we're taking those to heart, and we used that in the juvenile services building. Some of that is the holistic look at the project. Some of that is design and how the other disciplines of design coordinate with each other. That didn't happen real well on the public safety building or the juvenile court. And then there were some big gaps within the HVAC and roof project as well. So I've tried to make sure that everybody works from the same drawing set and close a lot of those gaps. So we are taking all of these lessons that we can and trying to incorporate those into the future.
Very good.
Mr. Chair, we're really lucky to have Kevin. He's
Yeah,
done a
thank
great
you.
job.
Thank you for both of your work, the work that both of you do. Okay. You want to,
I do. I'm trying to add to the motion. It just says the recommendation is to accept the report, but I'd like to accept the report with a statement that it'll never leak again, but might. Well, maybe for the record. No, Chair Cameron, I'd make a motion that we do accept the final closeout report for the juvenile court edition and transition center roof replacement projects.
I second the motion.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Notice I said seeing none, really quick. We need to move. All right, we are going to move on. Thank you for your presentation. I guess they already left, right?
They said leave.
They're moving.
I was telling them to hurry up. Consider approval of an order reappointing, of an order appointing Sydney Lenazar, who's here with us today, right? To the Marion County Health Advisory Board with a term ending January 31st, 2023. And Lisa's back up, and Carrie's here with us this morning. Welcome.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Lisa Miller, Volunteer Services Coordinator. I'm here this morning with Carrie Moeller, Health and Human Services Department Director, and Cindy Lenazar. She is being recommended for an appointment to the Health Advisory Board.
Good morning, bear with me. I have a cold. And I'll let Cindy speak a little bit about her interests. I just wanted to frame this conversation. It seems very timely this morning that we're coming to you with considerations for new appointment for board members. These are volunteer positions. And you'll also hear from Mike Mann in a minute. The Health Advisory Board serves a critical function to me and you as the board. The Health Advisory Board provides feedback and perspective from our community, from individuals who have interest in health services. So the Health Advisory Board helps to inform me on issues related to all of the services in the department, our behavioral health services, our developmental disability services, and our public health services. We could not do our job without that perspective. I've come to learn how vitally important it is, and they take a very important and active role, including helping for us to consider approaches to our work, gaps in our work. We've had some really powerful subcommittee work recently around homelessness, and they will help to inform our work around the development of the new coordinated care organizations. So besides professionals, we also have people who come to us with passion for this work because of personal experiences. So today, for your consideration, is appointment of our new board member, Cindy. Say something about your experience?
Chair, Commissioners, my name is Cindy Lanasar, and I have lived here in Marion County for the last 23 years. Over those 23 years, I have spent all of my career serving vulnerable populations in the not-for-profit community. Within that role, I have overseen a drug prevention network for a good part of 10 years. And back in 2003, we were recognized by the best coalition in the nation. And the Drug Czar came to this room and presented us with that award. Our work back then was looking at alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs and how to protect our citizens. And we did a great job with the leadership and the collaboration with the county, nonprofit, and community sectors. My role at Community Action Agency over the last 16 years has helped me understand and work with poverty, housing, homelessness, Head Start, as well as the Drug Prevention Network. I have a vast knowledge of what we are aiming to do within the Health Advisory Board and also with the Health Department. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to sit on this board. I've served the county years past, 9 years on the Children and Families Commission, ending as a chair of that commission just recently. And in my new role at Salem Health, my desire to serve on this board is kind of twofold. As we've identified the community health needs assessment in the 3 areas that we would like to improve the health of our community, I will not only serve within that community health implementation plan as well as the community health assessment and bring some perspectives from the hospital to that work. Mental health is a huge issue in our community, and I'm excited to bring those types of resources and ideas to this board, as well as housing, and the other priority area is substance use. So I'm honored to have the opportunity and hope to be appointed to serve in this capacity.
Very good.
You got questions?
No, I shouldn't have saw this, but she's done, just like she said, wonderful things for the county
Yeah.
for a long time. I've got to work with her children and families, been watching, always willing to help. But my bad part is I just found out she's on the University of Oregon Duck Club board member. So what do you do with that?
Cheer loud in March Madness.
And so, you know, Commissioner, what I always say to my duck friends, there are good people in bad places, okay? So don't worry about it.
All right. Just get
She's a
over it.
good
Thank you.
person. She deserves to be on this board. Look at her resume.
I know it.
Other than that, it's fine.
Nobody's perfect.
You don't have to make the motion, you just have to
I
vote
will,
for it.
I will. I want, excuse me.
Thank you for all your service in our community, seriously, over the years.
So Chair Cameron, I would make a motion, we do approve an order appointing Cindy Lannister to the Marion County Health Advisory Board with a term ending January 31st, 2023.
I second the motion.
Oh,
He actually took your
you
motion.
told me to.
No, you were so excited to support a duck that I didn't want to get in your way. I saw this
Thanks,
as
Commissioner.
Yeah.
a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. You guys just relax. You guys, see how much fun you're gonna have serving with yeah. I think you're on that,
I
You're
am. It's
the
coming
board
up this
member
next
now.
week, right?
Motion in a second. All those any further discussion? John?
Yes. You know, Cindy's been involved, Cindy and I have served on a variety of boards together. She's involved in everything in this community, I think. I don't think there's a board you haven't been on, is there, Cindy?
There might be one or two. This one being one of them.
So you can pick.
And we're really happy to have her around. She does really good work and everywhere she goes. Thanks.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of appointing Sydney to the Marion County Health Advisory Board with a term ending January 31st, 2023, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, he voted too. Look at that.
Didn't hurt that bad.
Yeah, it did. Thank you and welcome to that advisory board.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our next one, so we're just going to rotate chairs here, and this gentleman I got to serve with on the Health Advisory Board. Consider approval of an order reappointing Michael Mann to the Marion County Health Advisory Board with a term ending January 31st, 2023. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So I'd like to just introduce Michael a little bit and appreciate the passion and enthusiasm for Cindy's appointment. I value Michael in so many incredible ways. Michael reminds us about the people that we serve every day, and he is a constant voice for us about asking about the quality of life that the residents of Marion County have and our commitment to doing whatever we can to improve that quality of life. Michael is our vice chair currently, and we're asking for a reappointment. In addition to his work on the Health Advisory Board, Michael also serves and participates in the BCN Annual Budget Committee as, again, that voice of human perspective in the work that we do. I'd like Michael to say a little bit about his experience and his interest in the board.
Well, when I was at Lewis and Clark College, I was diagnosed with a mental illness, and that profoundly changed my life and gave me changed the total course of my life. And that's true for so many people. And it's a difficult road to hoe. There's a lot of things you endure. You're at odds with the community. You're not feeling good. Your life, it's a very difficult circumstance. So the thing is that on the Health Advisory Board, I've come to realize that Marion County is a wonderful place. So many exciting things going on. So many passionate, caring people. It seems like, as an advocate for people with mental health issues, I would love to see some of that passion, enthusiasm, and quality be transferred down to the lowest level of people that are suffering difficult circumstances. You're all wonderful people. You do great work. The thing is that if that can be brought in with the help of carrying the health department to the people that are underserved, that are suffering, going through difficult circumstances every day, I think Marion County, which is a great place, would be even a better place.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. Really appreciate what you do.
Oh yeah, having a mental health issue, you're at odds with the whole community.
Yeah.
And you're economically, you're physically, you're emotionally not functioning properly. And so it's great being on the Health Advisory Board to see how the county tries to step in and fill that void or make up those deficits that you have. And it improves the quality of people's lives, and that's a very important thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you. Thanks for your service. Really appreciate it. And appreciate your advocacy for folks with mental illness.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve an order reappointing Michael Mann to the Marion County Health Advisory Board with a term ending January 31st, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve an order for Michael Mann, reappointing him. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
See you at the next advisory board, at least Commissioner Willis will, because he's now the liaison from the board.
Well, we really appreciate the fact that you guys send representatives to see what's going on with that population.
Well, it's important to hear from the advisory board for us. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I want to thank everybody that's been waiting. I'm going to open a public hearing to consider an order vacating a portion of Phillips Lane Northeast. And Kent is here to give us a presentation, and we will go forward. We have several people signed up. If you're here to testify, I want to make sure I have a sign-up list. If you haven't signed up, we can send this back over there if anybody has not signed up. It's not too late. Kent, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Kent Inman, Marion County Surveyor. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we got here. So on February 13th, a resolution was passed to initiate the vacation. On February 27th, the board met, received the road officials' report, and approved the date for today's public hearing. Phipps Lane was created by the subdivision plat of Glendale Park in 1953. The dead-end portion is what we're talking about vacating. It's on the north side of Glendale Avenue. It's undeveloped, except for a walking path that leads to a fenced private property, and currently serves no practical public purpose. In 2018, the Sheriff's Office received 38 calls from the adjoining landowners. And you can see the list of activities that have been taking place last year. I've received no objections or phone calls from anybody concerned about the vacation. So here's a picture of the subdivision plat. There is the portion of Phipps Lane that we're discussing for vacation. And that is a picture of the portion of Phipps Lane that we're discussing. And there's a photo looking south, just through the paved part that's still existing. So Public Works recommends the vacation of the north end of Phipps Lane, and that the right-of-way be granted to the adjoining landowners per the statute. Do you have any questions?
I don't have questions at this time, Commissioners.
No.
Okay. So, thank you, Kent. We'll have you come back up if we do have further questions afterwards. So I will just call up in order that is here on the list. The first individual is John Miller. And if you'll come over to the chairs on the side, and then right after him, Jim Larkins, if you'd like to come up and sit next to Mr. Miller, and then we'll go from there. Welcome. And just for the record, everybody, could you introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning. My name's John Miller. I'm the owner of Courthouse Club Fitness. We have adjoining property. This lane dead ends into our property. In this whole process, this is the first time I've seen that information about 38 calls about issues to the sheriff, and I can say that that's a small fraction of the number of times that a call could have been made. And this is just a nagging problem, and it's getting worse. And so I feel like this step is necessary because there's really, as the gentleman just stated, this lane really does not serve a useful public purpose. It's really just used as a gathering place for people that just want to hang out, and they create a lot of problems with the graffiti and the intoxication and so forth. So I'm just one of the neighbors that is affected by what's going on there. So obviously I'm speaking in favor of the move to vacate this property and close it off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Larkins, and I'm a landowner. My wife and I own the property immediately to the west of the vacated street in question. I have a prepared statement that I would like to read, if that would be okay with the commissioners.
Absolutely. You can read it, or you can just submit it, either way.
Whatever you would prefer.
So if you want to just summarize it and then submit it, then we'd have it for the record.
Well, it's about 4 pages, so I could either read it or just let you have it.
Totally up to you.
I'd like to read it, I
Okay.
guess.
You took the time to be here, and we want to give you that time.
All right, thank you. As I said, my name is Jim Larkins. My wife Barbara and I have lived at 4091 Glendale Avenue Northeast for the past 17 months. We live just west of the abandoned dead-end section of 5th Street. The past 17 months have been difficult, to say the least. When we moved into our present home, it seemed like a nice neighborhood. We had talked to some of the neighbors before we purchased our home. Their comments, while guarded, seemed all right. We found out from one neighbor that our real estate agent had spent part of an afternoon cleaning up garbage in the abandoned dead-end section of 5th Street before she showed us the house. Things began to change in the spring of 2018. In March, someone threw a rock through our front room window in the middle of the night. As the weather began to warm up, there was a lot of evening foot traffic through the abandoned dead-end street. There was also groups of people gathering at the north end of the street and on the Courthouse Fitness Center property just past the end of the street. Things got pretty exciting, especially on the weekends. There were drinking, drugs, loud music, fights, sometimes lasting till early morning. As we talked more to the neighbors, we found out that the main problem stemmed from the continual cutting of the courthouse fence at the north end of the 5th Street. The criminals cut the fence, the Courthouse Fitness Center repairs it, and it is cut, repaired, and so on. It is not just the criminals that cut the fence that are at fault. None of the law-abiding citizens entering or leaving the private property of the fitness center are the least bit concerned by trespassing through the cut fence. Not only are they not bothered by it, but they must feel it is their legal right to do so. After all, they didn't cut the fence, somebody else did. More and more people have been going through the fence at all hours of the day and night, and more people have been gathering there at all hours of the day and night. It is a great place for people to go to drink, do drugs, make noise, and just raise hell. Is it a difficult area for the police to see much driving by because the trees, fences, and buildings there make it difficult for the police to see much of anything? Let me see if I missed something here. There were police chases on cars and people who drive and ran to the end of 5th Street and escaped into the apartments nearby. The police seldom caught anyone, just an occasional abandoned stolen car. The criminals knew if they made it to the north end of 5th Street, they were home free. There is also the issue of garbage, broken glass, needles, furniture, clothing, human feces, urine, and gang graffiti. If it wasn't for the city of Salem occasionally cleaning up the abandoned dead-end street and the Courthouse Fitness Center having their parking lot swept continually, there would be a lot more of everything. The neighbors paint over the gang graffiti, but as soon as the paint's dry, the gang graffiti is sprayed on again. I have enclosed some examples of the gang graffiti. Unfortunately, I don't have much to show regarding the garbage at this present time. However, within a month or so, the ground will be continually covered. I want to thank you for your time and allowing me to give this presentation. I cannot overemphasize the problem created by the abandoned dead-end section of 5th Street and its impact on the Courthouse Fitness Center and the Glendale Phipps neighbors. I also have some pictures that I'd like to present to the commissioners so that they could see some of the issues that I have just spoken of.
Thank you, Mr. Larkins. And if you want to hand those to legal counsel, he can circulate them. We probably need to make copies of those, and we can get them back to him, right, Bruce, since it's being submitted for the record?
Yeah.
Or can we just review them and...
Either way, I think that's up to the gentleman, I suppose, if these are copies or if he would like them back, but you certainly could do that.
Mr. Larkins, would you like those back?
I would if it's possible. You can keep the pictures. I don't care about those, but I don't have any other copy of the written comments, so I'd like to hang on to those.
Actually, I don't know that we need the written comments now that you've read it into the record.
Okay,
I think we're good with that.
Okay.
And we'll just review the
Yes,
pictures.
you can have the pictures.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Larkins, thank you for being here this morning. And again, thank you for your patience, everybody who signed up for the 9:30 public hearing. I should have probably said at the beginning that typically we will post a public hearing for 9:30. We can't start it before then, but we usually start it right after our board session, and I should have announced that. So everybody could go next door and get a cup of coffee or something if they wanted to while we're waiting. The next person, I'm going to just call you up, is Nancy, is it Herron? Nancy Herron, and if Carrie Polandaris, if you'd like to sit right next to Nancy, then we can just go two at a time. And again, for the record, if you'll introduce yourself.
Nancy Herron, and I'm at 4090 Glendale, across the street from the Larkins. Jim's detail is very encompassing of the activity that we see. One of the things he didn't mention was the actual drug activity. It happens at the end of the street, but it also happens at the front end of the street. They just step into that grassy area and do their little exchanges, and then both parties go off separate directions. And it has, it's a magnet area for the unsavory people. The high school kids, at the end of the day, 10, 15 of them will gather at the end of the street. And you know very well that they're down there doing things that they don't want anybody else to see them doing before they go on later to their own homes. Had I children that were walking to school and things like that at this time, I would have been horrified to have my children using that fence path to walk to school through the discarded needles, the discarded human waste, and all of that stuff. Not alone the people that hang out right there by that fence gate watching kids come through. It's just been a magnet for bad activity. I had written up some things too, but I think Jim covered everything for the most part. And the only other thing I have is a total separate issue, just to put in your minds, about adding additional lighting in the area. The block just before the north end of Phipps has very little lighting, and a lot of stuff happens in the evenings in that one block area where there's no lights. We've woke up several mornings and we have cars parked beside our house, and people are obviously sleeping in their vehicles. Quite often, I'll just call the sheriff's office to make sure it's not a stolen car or something. But I then go out and gather sticks or things in my yard, and they see my activity near their car. Oh, maybe we should leave. And they leave. A lot of times you find them in that darkened area doing things in their car that they don't want people to see. We open our blinds and shine a flashlight out because they've got this loud motor running outside our bedroom window, and they realize that, oh, there's someone there. They flip us off and they drive away. But you know, that's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And the activity that Jim and Barbara see is even more so because they're on that other end. I don't know if it bothers Carrie so much because her house is a little further away from where they do that, but it's just bad activity.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, hi, my name's Carrie Poldanius, and I live at 4111 Glendale, which is east of the lot, and right behind the empty courthouse parking lot, where really the brunt of everything goes down behind my house. A lot.
Can you speak right into the microphone,
okay.
Please?
A lot of things go on behind my house. Everything you heard goes on behind my house, plus more. So I don't really, I could I don't really know where to begin. Everything that everyone else has said goes on behind my house. I've found drug needles back there. They're back there all the time behind my house. I mean, they just stand back there for hours, and they break things. I can hear the glass breaking from my kitchen, you know, and I can hear the yelling. Just last Friday, there was a man back there banging. It sounded like he was banging a metal pole against some other metal pole, banging it. We could hear it in our kitchen. He was yelling, and my daughter was like, you know, can you hear that? You know, I asked her to turn the lights out because that's what I do. Because they can see, you can see into my house and somewhat from there. Yeah, and they're back there at 3 in the morning. And sometimes drinking, breaking, yelling. And yeah, I turn the lights out so they can't see into the house and hoping I can see them. And some police did show up. You know, we wondered, you know, should we call the police or what should we do? You know, because I can't go out there, you know, and it's dark, like she said, it's dark. I can't go out there and say, hey, knock it off, you know. I would be afraid to do that. And so the only choice I have is to call the police, but, you know, I don't like to call the police every 10 minutes, you know, and you probably could some nights, but the police did show up in front of your house, their house, Friday night, and we saw the lights through our window, and we thought, oh, you know, they must come for that man. But we went out there just to look, and they were actually talking to 2 people in front of their house. So, but I think it scared the guy off because he left after that. But, you know, it's a difficult problem for us because I don't want to call the police. Like, I have many times, but it's gotten a little better since they've done patrols, but, you know, since they've been trying to clean it up. But it used to be really bad, and I would stand in my kitchen, and, you know, I could hear them, and they're really close to my house, and, you know, it's just never-ending calling police. There's just people back there all the time. There's people try to live back there. They try to live back there, particularly behind my house. And I'm really concerned about the courthouse parking lot. It's the part they don't use is it's just an empty lot, and everything that happens in there is just what you see, typical empty lots in the ghetto. It's broken glass. People, like Jim said, all the nasty things they do back there. It's pretty bad, and I am concerned. I am a little concerned. If they close the lot, I am in favor of closing the lot, but I am concerned about the back of the courthouse, the empty lot, because that's where they stand. They stand in the corner, the far corner, which is the far east corner of my backyard, which connects to the back corner of the courthouse. And they stand there. Well, they try to live there. They do all kinds of, they do anything you can think of back in that corner. Now they're because they've been patrolling it, they've moved from the gate to the back corner. They huddle in the back corner, literally stand there indefinitely, for hours sometimes, all day long, all night long. And it is very dark back there, very dark. And it's right behind my house, and like they have cut through the barbed wire, not behind my house, but like Jim said, they've cut through the barbed wire, through the chain link fence, all the way through, where they walk through it, and that's what's behind, that's the only thing that separates these people from my yard and my house, is the chain link fence. And they're back there all night long, all the time. They were back there yesterday. I went out there. I was in my backyard trying to do something, and I could hear them standing in the corner, you know, laughing and having a great time, do what they do. I don't know. And then, so I was going to go around to, you know, get pictures. They were there the other weekend. There was people back there doing the same thing, and they had pit bulls. Because I heard the dog barking from my living room, this dog barking. And I thought, well, that concerns me because it just kept barking. And I went around to see what it was, and they were standing there just partying. There was quite a few of them, you know, and there was a pit bull just running around there, and Yeah, so I'm really, it's just not good. And there's a hole in the chain link fence behind my house that has to be fixed because dogs run out of it. We've had a cat killed by a dog. And I had my house broke into this year by, I believe, some men standing back there. I watched these men stand in that fence for all day long. I was in my living room. I saw them in the kitchen. I could see them standing right there, just standing there for hours. And I had to leave, so I left. And when we came home, someone had broke into our house. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know in particular who they are, but I'm pretty sure it was those people. And they had come in through the back window and had gone all through the house. Luckily, they didn't steal a lot of valuable things, but they'd thrown food all over. Everything was all over the floor. And they did bring a knife in our house. They left a knife in our house. And, that's just the extent of what's just going on. And
Good.
My fence is constantly graffitied. I just can't keep up with the...
And Carrie, we're going to share some things that we're doing over there in that particular, besides this, some other things that we're doing in that area with lighting and public safety too that will help. And we'll share that at the end of the public
that's right.
testimony.
It has improved,
Good.
But, if they would just stand there and smoke, it would be one thing, but they don't. They break and they yell. And it's like that gentleman who talked about mental illness. I think there's a lot of it back there because I'll hear people yelling. Just sometimes in the mornings, you'll hear people yelling. And like Friday night, he was yelling and banging. I don't really know what to do about it because I think the best solution is to close the lot off. Because it's just going to get worse when the path closes. It's just going to be worse back there because that's where they'll hang out and no one can see them. And all I can do is just keep calling the police, but I don't like to call the police all the time.
We need you to do that. If the sheriff was here, he would say, we want you to call.
Yeah.
Because and that's going to change. Response times will change too in the future. So I really appreciate your testimony.
Well, thanks.
Good.
And last night I saw a couple of bicyclists. They went down the path and then they turned left and rode through Jim's front yard. Yes, Yeah, I was standing, I was like, what are those people doing? And they just rode through their front yard on their bikes.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, and thank you for your patience waiting to share today. Is it Vern Delap? Mr. Delap, and then Daryl Heron? Two Herons here today. Oh, and they happen to live in the same. They happen to live in the same address, so there may be a connection here. They just weren't signed up next to each other. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome, thank you. My name is Vern DeLapp. I live at 2918. Excuse me, 2918 Phipps Lane. That's a short block south of this Glendale, and they keep coming through there all the time. And they cut across my yard. They have the Watson, which borders my property, is the exit entrance to the McKay Park. And it's a steady stream from the park through that line, down through there, and I pick up litter every day in my property. They cut across my property, across my driveway, across my yard, and I think I pick up litter almost every day in my yard from these people. I see them drop it, and I tell them that they're littering, and they just ignore me and just keep right on going. Once in a while, they will pick it up and go on. But it's a constant nuisance. They have gang fights in the park, and the police and the people from McKay High School all come down there, and by the time they get there, they run both ways, and they run through that fence, and then they can't chase them because they can't go through there with their cars, so they're home free, just like I said before. So I'm in favor of that being closed off. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Heron.
Yes, my wife said most of the things we said, but like he said, it's a constant trash thing. Every day we go out there on our property. We've had our cars broke into. We have people come down and ride their bicycles right across or walk right across our property. And when you say something to them, they just say a bunch of profanities and keep right on going. And we've witnessed many, many, many drug deals. They'll stop and do their drugs right there, and if we go out, they flip us off and then take off. But it's so dark in there for that block. Every other block has streetlights, but that one block. And they just sit back there all the time, and then they go by and play loud music, sit out there and scream and cuss. We've been woke up many, many, many times by this. It's hard to get a good night's sleep even. So I'm in favor of shutting it off.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay. Let's see, we will have staff come back up. Kent, you want to come back up? Or if you don't have a further presentation, you can just go over to the side since we don't have any. That's your last slide, right?
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Kent based on what we heard?
I just have, I guess, a comment.
Right. If we don't have questions, do you have a question?
No.
No.
No questions for Kent? Okay.
No.
All right. So Kent, you're off. You're
Well, he
you're
can
good.
stand by. You never know.
You never know what might come up. Yeah. But go ahead, Commissioner. You have some comments.
Well, when we first bought our house, there was a lot of drug activity where we were living, and I just want to comment on the stress that that feels like. I know what it's like to not feel safe. I have little girls, and so to just constantly be worried about what's going on, who's in your yard, that sort of thing. I just realize how stressful that is, and so I want to thank you for being here and telling us about it, and because we can't do anything about it unless we hear and we know that it exists. So thank you all for being here and for taking your time. I think we got to work on fixing this.
Okay. Commissioner?
Well, I think we've had some discussions in the past and work sessions and stuff. We have a pretty good picture of a bad area, abused area, and a good opportunity to give some relief by closing this off, and I'm going to be all in support of it. And I know you hinted about it, we might as well just say, some public safety, we're going to have, within the next couple of years, 10 deputies assigned to East Salem, additional than what you have today, that should help all that situation out. I would like to say, I heard 2 or 3 different people mention the darkness of the area. The other part that we're doing is finishing off street lighting. I can't guarantee on that block, and if I'd had time, you wouldn't even know, Kent, but somehow we want to make sure that not only do we fill in the whole area, East Salem, that we're talking about with a unified lighting district, but we got to take care of spots like this that are particularly dark. So perhaps, I wish I knew that answer, I don't, but things should get better, and I hope they will. I'm going to go ahead and just, while I'm still talking, and just go ahead and make the motion to close the public hearing and approve the vacation of the right-of-way on the north end of Phipps Lane Northeast, north of Glendale Avenue Northeast.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Further discussion. Yeah, in full disclosure, I'm not too worried about it. It's not a land use hearing, but I want to know that on February 18th, I received an email from Mr. Miller with photos that showed what a problem this was. I went out there with our Public Works Director, Brian Nicholas, is here, and our previous Public Works Director. I went out there and met with him and Sheriff Myers and Mr. Miller and viewed this. It's been a year ago to get to this point. I apologize that we couldn't get it done sooner than this. It's just kind of the way things work. And saw that this was a problem, saw the fences that were cut, saw the trash that was laying there. And then, as Commissioner Brentano just said, we've got lighting that's coming in the area. The plans we have public safety, we're adding 10 deputies to that particular area, which will really help give us equivalent to full-time 24/7, one in Four Corners and one in Jean Ray area. plus the deputies that are already servicing the area. That will help with some of these things. And I want to encourage the citizens that were here that took the time to testify to always take the time to call. Sometimes they can't respond right away, but the calls matter, and they can make a difference. And we're doing other things as commissioners to try to, in the future, make room in our jail for people that need to be kept as well. So we've got some challenges, and we really appreciate the citizens' involvement today that came out to take this time to, there's nobody in opposition to this, so pretty easy thing. I think we have a motion and a second, and any further discussion?
Well, I just would like to say, please keep talking to us.
Right.
So if things aren't getting better, please email us, call us, harass us, because it's our job to make this right, so.
I know Mr. Miller will harass me on Mondays and Wednesdays. I just worked out with him this morning at 7 o'clock, so we'll hear about it if it's not fixed. So, all right, let's hear a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right. That is done. Thank you very much. And we closed the public hearing. We are done with our regular business. Commissioner, if you want to read the calendar, where we're going to be in the next week.
Today is Wednesday, March 27th, and we're at board session. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, we will be meeting with State Representative Teresa Alonso Leon, located at the Oregon State Capitol, room H283. That's 900 Court Street Northeast in Salem. Tomorrow, Thursday, March 28th at 9:30 in the morning, we will have a work session on nuisance properties located on the 5th floor of this building in the Silverton Conference Room. That's 555 Court Street Northeast. At 6:30 p.m. Tomorrow, March 28th, we will have a Jefferson Community Forum located at Jefferson City Hall, 150 North 2nd Street in Jefferson. On April 1st at 8:30 in the morning, we will have calendar review on the 5th floor of this building, the Silverton Conference Room. On April 1st at 9 in the morning, we'll have management update located on the 5th floor of this building in the Silverton Conference Room. On Monday, April 1st at 2:30 in the afternoon, we will have the Marion County Health and Human Services Program Tour located at the Children Behavioral Health Center at 3867 Wolverine Street Northeast, Building F in Salem. On April 2nd, that's Tuesday at 9 in the morning, we will have a work session on the Marion County Housing Initiative located in the Commissioner's Boardroom on the 5th floor of this building. On April 2nd, that's Tuesday at 1:30 in the afternoon, we will have a work session on Travel Salem's annual allocation of lottery dollars located on the 5th floor of this building in the Silverton Conference Room. On April 2nd, at 6 in the evening, we will have a board session in Town Hall up in the Santiam Canyon located at the Gates Fire Hall, 140 East Sorbonne Street in Gates. On April 3rd, that's Wednesday at noon, we will have a Woodburn-Marion County meeting at Luis's Taqueria at 523 Front Street in Woodburn. And that's all we got for now.
Great. Anything you want to share about this last week or what's coming up? Seems like it's been a busy week.
They're all busy weeks.
Yeah. Welcome to the busy world.
I don't think I have anything. It'll be an important meeting with Representative this afternoon, talking about exemptions in My Tax and Swindle, House Bill 2020. We need some breaks. It's really, if we can't get them, it's just like a tax increase to every citizen in Marion County, so that's what we're fighting for. It's pretty important.
That is important.
Yeah, one of the meetings that wasn't on the schedule that I'm going to try to sneak out and go see is the North Fork Recreation Area Group meeting that's going to be at 11 o'clock today at our Public Works Department, getting ready for the summer, and how BLM and the Forest Service and our Sheriff's Department and our Public Works Department all work together and continuing to move down to treat that North Fork corridor as one area to try to make it fun, safe, and livable for everybody that works there. So it'll be interesting to see what they're working on today. Yeah, it's been busy, but
there you go.
Some good things happening.
Yeah.
Where's your boss today?
She finally found it in her to take some time off.
Oh, fantastic. Gee.
Yeah.
Spring break, right?
Well deserved.
Oh, yeah. Good for her. She go to visit her son?
I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that.
Probably shouldn't talk about where she's at anyways. Okay.
I've
we
known
will-
Cindy for a long time. She didn't like that ribbon. Did you see that? Yeah.
Right, about, well.
I guess you wouldn't be real proud of it.
Council's son
but-
is even in another place.
I know it.
Yeah, it's like way south of here. Yeah.
All right.
I gotta be careful. I can't say anything about that. What color, Cardinal, what color is that, the Trojan horse anyways? Would you say maroon and gold?
I don't know that.
Okay, yeah.
Did you see Sam put a motion forward for a Oregon Duck to be appointed to a board?
I did. Actually,
how
he stole a
broad-minded.
motion.
Do you see?
Stole a
He
motion
wanted
from
it
you.
so badly.
He stole the motion from you. All right, I'm gonna close this meeting and we will be done. Thank you.